What's up everybody, this is Meher, and in this video we are going to not look at any piece of code. I'm not going to show you any JavaScript. We are going to look at the place where we work, and it's none other than our code editors. And I think these days the most popular code editor is VS Code. So I want to tell you about one plugin that will change the way you code, and that plugin is none other than Whim. So I started using Whim I think 5 years ago, and since the time I've started using Whim, I can't think of going to the normal way of not using the Whim. And in fact, I've started using Whim in my browser and even on my note-taking app. So you must be thinking right now that what is it about Whim that once people start using Whim, they can't stop talking about it. And in fact, I was in that same position. And I think when I was first introduced to Whim, I kind of joked around it and I was like, okay, that's more like programming within programming. But there was this one period in my time where I think I had less development work. I was like, okay, let me just give it a try. So it dropped my productivity, I think, by 100x or something like that, because I was still trying to figure out how to use Whim. But in, I think, couple of days, my productivity and the way I started using my editor, it went up exponentially. And now let me tell you that why you should explore Whim, and you must take some time, spend some time and learn it. And it actually is really very easy to do it. So let's take an example and try to understand what Whim basically does to your editor. So imagine you're writing a comment in social media and you say submit. And to edit that same comment, you'll have to find that button which says edit in the drop down, or if it's a direct button. And that is when you'll be able to edit your comment. Your comment is not always editable. It's in read-only mode, and then it goes into editable mode. And Whim exactly does the same thing to your editor, because if you look at your editor right now, it is always in the editable mode. So now if you think about it, when your editor is in read-only mode, all the keys are available for you to assign some action to them, or even you can use them to navigate your whole editor. Okay, so how do you go about Whim? So one recommendation that I have for you is that you should not absolutely switch to Whim for everything. You should, I think, spend probably an hour or two in a week and just experience the Whim mode, and then get back to doing what you're doing in your normal editor, because that's the mistake I did and it dropped my productivity heavily. So let me show you a couple of common things that we do every day with our editor and how you can do that in Whim, starting with a very basic configuration. So let's jump to our editor. Okay, so let me show you where the plugin is installed, and if I click on extension section, and you see that Whim is installed. So if you have to go about using Whim, then what you do is you have it enabled, and if you don't want to use it, you just come to this place and disable this for the workspace, or you actually disable it globally. So let me close this section, and let me even close this sidebar, and let me show you how do you begin by using Whim. So first concept in Whim is that, so the way we use control as a modifier in Whim, you can set it to any key, and that concept is called as leader. So what I've done is I've assigned it to the space, because space bar is the biggest key and it's accessible from many places, or it's where my thumb is usually, so I assigned it to space. And then you can see that you can define key bindings for your insert mode, and then you can see that you can assign normal key bindings, non-recursive. You can ignore the non-recursive part for now, but yeah, this is the normal mode. So basically your normal mode is your read-only mode, and your insert mode is basically your edit mode. Okay, now look at the status bar. The status bar says normal, and there is basically a Whim command line and Whim pending command keys, which you can enable by default. It actually gets enabled by default, so you don't have to worry about it. But you can see that it shows you are in normal mode, which is basically read-only mode. So in this mode, if I start typing something, it will not work, because you are basically in read-only mode, and it is great for navigating. So let's say if I have to go to the next line, I press J, and if I have to go back to the previous line, I press K. So that's how I can achieve a line-by-line navigation, and I'm not using my mouse at all. So that's a great way to do that. But you must be thinking right now that it is pretty damn slow. But let's talk about easy motion. So I think the greatest advantage of mouse is that you can use mouse to point it to a particular character, and that's what we use mouse most of the time for, or even going to the line or switching the tab. But this aspect, which is to be able to point at particular thing, is the magical thing of the mouse. So to do that, what you have to do is you have to use the Easy Motion plugin, and I have created a different configuration for it. So if I press S, you can see in the status bar that it shows Easy Motion input, and this is awaiting for one input from me. So let's say if I have to go to this line number 36 use control keys word, what I have to do is I press S, and you can see in the status bar that it says easy motion input, and I have to press the U letter. And if I press U, you can see that all the U in my editors have been highlighted, and I can choose which one I have to pick. So if I want to go to use control keys, what I do is I press the L key and I'm right there. And let's say if I want to go to the easy motion word, I have pressed S already, you can see that in the status bar, and now I press E, and now a character is highlighted for me, and I can press that character and I reach that place. And that's how you can use the advantage of easy motion plugin, and it's my favorite plugin and I use it all the time. And this completely changed the way I started using Whim, because I don't have to worry about using the mouse. So now let's look at what did we have in this insert key mode binding. So basically when you have to start editing something, you have to press certain keys to get inside the edit mode. So usually you can press I to get into the insert mode, escape to go back to normal mode, you can press A, and there are many more keys actually to get inside the insert mode. But to get out of insert mode, there is only one key, which is escape. You have to press escape all the time, and escape is kind of like a very far away key. So what I have done is basically I have replaced the escape operation with two keys, which is J and J. So because J and J does not appear so many times in any of your English words, so I use that, and that's how the community has been using it. So basically JJ emulates the escape. So if I'm in the edit mode and if I press JJ, I go back in the normal mode and I can start navigating back again like this. Okay, so now let's look at some of the common key bindings that we can add in the normal key mode. And before I make it even more complicated, let's keep it really simple. So what I've done is I've created a simple shortcut for your easy motion key, because the default configuration that comes for easy motion is a lengthy modifier where you have to press space or whatever you have assigned your leader to, then you have to press S, then you have to press the character which you want to find. So you can simply override this configuration by putting that in the before block, and then what you can do is you can override it with whatever letter you want to use. So in my case I use S, which basically denotes a search for me. So if I press S, you can see in the status bar that easy motion input gets activated, and whatever letter I press, let's say N, I can go to the normal mode, and I press S, then I press P, I can go to the before word. So that's how you can use easy motion to emulate your mouse and completely stay on your keyboard and be super fast with it. So if you look at the next configuration, what we have done is we have allowed two control key shortcuts to work with our Whim configuration, and those are your Control A and Control F, or in case of Mac, it's going to be Command A and Command F. So if I do Command A, everything gets selected, and if I do Command F, then I can start looking for words like after, and I can reach there. So I have allowed those two control shortcuts to work because I'm kind of used to it, but probably Command A is not in my configuration, but yeah, I would definitely allow it. So that's it, and that's the easiest Whim configuration that you can add in your editor right now. And as I've said, you don't have to completely switch to Whim mode. You just use it for an hour and just get a feel for it. And once you get comfortable with the idea, and once you start evolving this configuration so that it suits you better and your workflow better, then you can decide to switch completely to the Whim mode. And lastly, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel, and let me know, most importantly, let me know in the feedback section that if you would want a follow-up video on the Whim topic that we covered in this video. And I'll see you later in the next one.